They banned me from the reunion. I went to Bali instead. It burned to the ground without me. My mother's side of the family runs their annual reunion with the precision of a military operation, seating charts, potluck assignments, a printed itinerary, and an unspoken but ironclad social hierarchy. For 11 consecutive years, I handled the venue booking, coordinated the catering deposit, ferried elderly aunts from the airport, and absorbed whatever emotional debris came hurtling my way the moment something went sideways. Then, last spring, my cousin Drea, the undisputed golden child, the woman who once cried at a dinner table until my grandmother changed her will, decided she didn't want me there. The stated reason was that I had created tension the previous year by quietly correcting her lie about a shared inheritance to another family member. That correction cost Drea exactly $0 and wounded only her pride. But to her, that was unforgivable. The family held a vote, an actual vote. 14 people decided via a group chat I was removed from that my presence was disruptive to the atmosphere of the event. I found out through my cousin Marcus, who had the decency to feel ashamed when he told me. I sat with the news for about 48 hours. There was a stage where I rehearsed a monologue in my bathroom mirror, eloquent, devastating, the kind of speech that leaves everyone hollow. I never sent it. Instead, I opened a travel app and booked 12 nights in Ubud. Business class, a private villa overlooking rice terraces with a plunge pool the color of a fever dream. I had the money, I had the time. I had absolutely nothing tying me to a rented community center in the suburbs of Cincinnati during the second weekend of August. I did not announce my plans. I did not post a dramatic farewell. I simply disappeared from the orbit of people who had voted to exclude me, the way a planet quietly drifts when gravity stops pulling. What I learned later arrived in fragments through Marcus, who remains a reliable source. The catering company I had always booked through was fully unavailable because no one had renewed the relationship I'd spent years cultivating. Drea took over venue coordination and selected a hall that turned out to have a booking conflict with a church function. The backup location had no air conditioning. In August, in Ohio, 14 of my aunts, uncles, and cousins sat in 91-degree heat, eating lukewarm store-brand potato salad, while my grandmother, who is 83 years old and does not tolerate discomfort quietly, announced that this was the worst reunion in the history of the family name. My grandmother then asked where I was. Nobody had a clean answer. I was at that exact moment watching the sun collapse behind a volcanic ridge, a glass of something cold and citrusy sweating gently in my hand, a gecko clicking quietly somewhere near my left ear. I was not posting. I was not performing serenity. I was simply serene. The messages began arriving on day 3 of my trip. First, the curious ones. Hope everything is okay, heard you didn't make it. Then the guiltier ones. We probably should have talked to you before the vote. Then finally on day 7, a voice note from Drea herself, 41 seconds long, explaining that things had gotten a little chaotic and maybe she had overreacted and perhaps we could talk when I was back. I listened to it once on my villa terrace, barefoot, watching a cloud move across the caldera in the distance. Then I set my phone face down on the stone railing and went for a swim. I haven't responded. I may never respond. Not out of cruelty, out of the quiet recognition that some doors once closed from the other side don't need to be opened again from mine. Next year's reunion planning falls entirely to someone else now. I hear Drea has already volunteered. I hear my grandmother has already expressed reservations. I hear a lot of things from Marcus, who keeps me updated through a kind of familial loyalty I no longer take for granted. I've already started researching Patagonia for August.